Okay, seriously, whatever ASUS is doing with their gaming goodies, please don't stop. I have said many times in the past that a full-size keyboard is not for me, but this one I would use. It's insane in a good way. By the way, you know how I know this is a gaming keyboard? There's a tiny pimple on the W key to help you find WASD. So the Flare II Animate keyboard, it's a proper flagship from ROG that got me excited, but not only because of the mini LED matrix that has come over from their notebooks, basically this really dynamic visual feature that is kind of gimmicky, but has some functionality behind it as well. For example, anytime you activate any of the keyboard functions, you have this visual presentation on what just happened, like locking the Windows key, all the media controls, changing illumination, brightness, or color modes, and even activating the macro recordings. This is white LED only, no RGB to play with on the Matrix, but the effects library is pretty diverse with some random stuff, some ROG branded animations, and a clever contrast slider to improve visibility of busy graphics. You can also switch to display some system information, which is super limited to date, time, and mail notifications. So basically kind of useless when there's no more user-defined notification options for, let's say, your CPU or GPU info. That would have been more user-friendly. I mean, in terms of displaying some hardware information that might be useful to you. But then there's the really fun audio visualizer with a few Spectrum presets that is my favorite use of the Matrix because it's actually dynamic to what I'm doing. Unfortunately, there are no in-game integrations, and it would have been sweet, but I can only understand the difficulty of integrating such APIs. But how cool would it be to display health status or any other useful information for most popular games on Steam? Maybe that's the future for this Matrix, you know? And of course, the Delta S Animate headset is all about the Matrix too. Not so much for your enjoyment when you're wearing the headset, but perhaps for your audience, or if you simply want to admire the Matrix by looking at this thing, you know? It's almost like a simulation, isn't it? Speaking of simulation, take the simulation of PC building to the next level. With PC Building Simulator 2 that has the super accurate and high resolution graphics with better textures and details for both the parts and the workshop. Plus that RGB, man, wow, it looks real if you ever want to explore the true potential of colors with an easy undo feature. They reworked the thermal paste behavior, there's thermal imaging now, and plenty of custom water blocks for that true digital luxury. You can wishlist the game now on the Epic Game Store for all that simulation goodness to either see what's possible, work on your cable management skills, or simply enjoy the new main storyline. You can wishlist the game now with the link below. Make that wishlist goodness happen. Now, what were you saying? I was saying it's really good that ROG are not only relying on the cool factor of these two products, because the rest of the keyboard, for example, is seriously impressive. The half-height keycaps are a great complement to reduce the size of the keyboard, which has that nice low-profile look, and they are, of course, double-shot PBT with that slight coarse texture, revealing none of the oils. I also love this sandblasted aluminum top plate that is lighter in color to have that beautiful contrast between the black keycaps, and this texture is a great fingerprint resistor. Some more flashy bits aside from the Animatrix include this front underglow on the keyboard that can be made to fire right through the wrist rest, which is pretty cool, doesn't require any tools, and this diffusion piece conveniently stashes inside the wrist rest. The floating keycaps, of course, reveal a bunch of RGB from all the sides, so this is a pretty damn good looking keyboard. Let me know if you agree. The media control cluster is quite different, but also pretty functional, with this digital knob and a button combo, plus the volume wheel that is also a button, and two flat buttons for Windows lock and brightness change. There's a USB pass-through for peripherals, which is why the main cable is so chunky, and my gosh, how awesome would it be if it was removable? Perhaps on the next iteration, please ROG make it happen, but the main thing that makes this thing a flagship is the typing experience. I mean, listen to this. What you heard are very impressive stabilizers that are lubed and don't rattle at all. We have smooth linear switches with absolutely no scratchiness. And overall, just a pleasant sound profile because of the foam on the interior to eliminate any of the reverb from the plastic case. The cherry on top is the keyboard is hot swappable with north-facing switches. So if you love experimenting with a different feel on your keyboard once in a while, hot swap is such a huge value add. Plus, for some reason, I need tactile or clicky in the numpad cluster and my escape key, and this keyboard makes it possible. If you are not used to gaming with a full-size keyboard, you gotta do that aggressive slant to make room for mouse, especially for FPS. But I really love the feel and quality of gaming with this. I should also mention this keyboard has an 8000 Hz polling rate, which is one of the very few on the market right now. So it's a technical advantage. You probably won't notice it, but it gives you that confidence that the keyboard is not gonna hold you back in terms of losing to latency. There have also been plenty of examples on what mainstream gaming brands should do to improve their products in light of all the competition. And the Flare II Animate is kind of the perfect example on what to do when it comes to stabs and their switch quality control. Now, this headset is their latest in the Delta lineup. They've made it more comfortable over time than the original. It feels lighter, and the clamping force is safe for glasses too. The all black design without any RGB is pretty different, as you can see, and the dot matrix on the side can be reactive to your microphone input, which I feel like is the most dynamic if you're not into any of the included animations. And you can also turn off the matrix with the button on the side, go back to default, or turn it off completely. Now, since you can't really see what's being displayed on the sides, perhaps there's plenty of opportunity here in the streaming integrations in the future. But I feel like they've made a pretty attractive proof of concept, especially with such a challenging matrix area itself, since it's not a square, it's not round, it's kind of a weird ROG Delta S shape on the sides, and I feel like they've made it work pretty well. But how cool would it be if you connect this to your streaming service and you get a little notification pop up for every donation, for every follow, for every subscribers, for every gifted subs? That would be pretty cool and a little bit more interactive for a regular stream. And since it is USB-C powered, all the processing is done on the headset, and they do a pretty good job with their DACs with plenty of volume output. Just a word of advice, the EQ presets are enabled by default in the Armory Crate software for some reason. So if you want to have that proper, just regular raw audio that is not colored by the software, disable that equalizer. So let's talk gaming now with this thing, shall we? It's a very comfortable pair. There's lots of detail in your audio and plenty of resolution. Thank you. This is high-res certified, but regardless, still, I hear absolutely everything in my Escape from Tarkov, and they're not bleeding either. Like, they're not too sharp. And even though you have that equalizer to play around, if you want to remove something from the high end or add something on the low end, they are, they're a very fun headset to go around, especially for gaming. So I think this whole LED matrix approach to adding some flair is definitely unique, especially when it evolves beyond being this sort of simple graphic animation or maybe displaying your logo. I wanted to show my GPU frequency, for example, or current weather information where I am, or something numerical that is easy to read. But even still, at this point, I find it a really cool alternative to your standard RGB, especially on a headset. It's not perfect, but I want to encourage ROG more of this, especially since the core design is already so well made. And I'm really looking forward to the Flare III Animate or the Delta S Animate 2, whatever comes next. I mean, perhaps, hopefully, they're not gonna just built in RGB in here and all just really work on making the matrix a bit more functional than it is currently available. All right, guys, let me know what you think of the two peripherals. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video.